Hey guys, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy's Garage, I'll show you how to change the chain and sprockets on a Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 motorcycle. Okay, so a good way to tell if your chain is worn out is to observe the tension in the chain. So here it looks alright, but as I rotate the wheel, if you notice the chain getting tighter or looser, i.e. the tension is not the same everywhere, it means your chain is likely worn out. Also, if you pull your chain from the sprocket from the back, if you see there's enough free play here and you can see through this gap, that means your chain is worn out. And so let me rotate the wheel a little bit, and you can notice here the chain is tightening up. If I rotate it some more, there's almost no tension here. So this is a good sign that my chain is worn out. And also as you ride, you will hear some noise as the links hit the sprocket. And it's always a good idea to change the chain and the rear and front sprockets at the same time, because if your chain is worn out, it's very likely that your sprockets are worn out as well, even though if you can't see it much. And if you put a brand new chain on existing sockets, since the teeth have already been worn out, you will wear out your new chain even faster. So my chain has got about 25,000 kilometers on it, and it's completely worn out. To be honest, this is my first chain-ridden bike that I'm working on myself. The last chain-driven bike I had was a long time ago, before I started maintaining and servicing my own bikes. I've had many bikes since then, but all have been belt-driven or shaft-driven. So this is new to me, but I don't think it's overly complicated. I did some Googling, and I hear the chains usually last 35,000 kilometers or so. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling I know why my chain is worn out faster. I have been lubing it up and cleaning it regularly every 500 kilometers. So I don't think that's the issue, but I did go on a very long 3-month trip, about 15,000 kilometers, and I rode through some pretty harsh conditions in India, Northeast India, Nepal and Bhutan in the Himalayas. While I was there, I had to change my tires in a small village. So I guess that the guy who changed my tires, he didn't set the chain slack properly. I actually saw him do it. He didn't set the chain slack at all, and I just continued on my long trip after changing tires. So if the slack wasn't set correctly, the chain and sprockets probably wore out faster than they should have. But anyway, it's a small thing. It's easy to replace, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so before we get started, make sure you have your new chain and sprocket kit. I've got my kit from Royal Enfield. I'll share the part numbers in the description of the video. But you can get your chain from wherever. The stock chain, I think, is a DID. I don't think it's made in Japan. It's probably made in India, but it's got a DID branding. It's a 520 chain, and it's 116 links. So if you're buying an aftermarket chain, remember it's 520, 116 links. This is an endless chain. That means it has no master link, so it's one continuous loop, and it's pretty much half the price of the DID made in Japan chain. I try not to recommend anything on my channel unless I know for sure it's horrible. This is not a review channel, it's purely a motorcycle maintenance channel. So feel free to buy whatever part or component you think is good. Do your own research, obviously. I'll just show you how to install it. I forgot to mention, so the chain is 520, 116 links. The front sprocket is 15 teeth, and the rear sprocket is 47 teeth. So if you're buying aftermarket sprockets, just make sure of that. You can change your gearing based and buy different teeth sprocket, but that's up to you. But this is the stock specs. Okay, so while the old chain is still on the bike, it's a good idea to crack the front sprocket nut loose. There's a sprocket cover here, so let's go ahead and remove this. There are 3 5mm bolts, so go ahead and undo those. Okay, and then you should be able to just pull the sprocket cover off. Get some degreaser. This is just a regular all-purpose degreaser. It's safe on plastic and rubber as well, so that should help some of this grime and dirt free. So clean the sprocket as well. Next, there's a little washer around this nut, and you can see it's bent into the nut here, and that's intentionally done just to help. Just another safety measure to prevent the nut from unlocking. So get a a big flathead screwdriver and a hammer or something, and we're gonna just unbend that very carefully without damaging that washer. And once you've gotten it out, you can use a drift or something, or a rod that's not sharp, to flatten this washer out. Okay, and now we're ready to remove this nut. It's torqued up with a lot of torque, so the best way to do this is to put the bike on the side stand so the rear wheel is on the ground. Get someone to help you to stand on press the rear brake, the brake pedal, so the rear wheel is locked. And since the old chain is on, this sprocket will be prevented from turning, and that'll help you unlock this nut. So let me put the bike on the side stand and let me get a friend. Okay, so I've got the bike on the side stand. I've got my friend on the other side who's going to press the brake pedal for me. You're going to need a 30mm socket and a nice big breaker bar, and we're going to break this loose. Okay, I couldn't remove the sprocket nut. I tried really hard, but it's torqued really tightly. Pressing on the brake pedal method didn't work for me. So I'm going to try another method, and that involves removing the rear wheel. I'm going to create another video showing how to remove and install the front and rear wheels. So I'll take a look at that. I'll put a link in the description. But let's go ahead and remove the rear wheel, and let's try another method to crack this sprocket nut loose. So now that I've got the wheel off, just put the axle back into the swing arm, wrap the chain around it, and then take a screwdriver that's small enough to fit in through the links of the chain, and link it from the top side of the chain and through the bottom of the chain as well. And just to hold the top and the bottom chain together, use a cable tie or zip tie to hold it together, and the screwdriver will kind of lock this chain around this axle. That kind of helps you lock the axle as you take your big breaker bar or wrench and your 30mm socket to try to crack this loose. So this axle won't turn because of that screwdriver there. If that doesn't work, get a blowtorch or something to heat up this nut so it expands a little. Be careful. It expands a little, and then try to crack it loose. And I believe Royal Enfield also sells a sprocket holder tool, a special tool. I didn't buy that, but I think any of these methods should work. What I think I'm going to do is, I have pretty much all the tools that make my life easy to work on my bike. The one thing, or one of the few things I didn't invest in, finally did invest in last night, I went and bought myself an impact wrench. And I see guys on YouTube, not struggling at all, and I'm struggling here with a big breaker bar, so I thought, let me try this. So hopefully this works, but if you don't have an impact wrench, then a big breaker bar and a lot of effort. So let's give this a try with my impact wrench and a 30mm socket. Wow, that was easy. We can take out this washer carefully, and we can take the chain off the sprocket, and carefully pull the front sprocket out. There you go. Now that the front sprocket's out, let's take out the rear sprocket from the wheel. So you need a 17mm socket. Okay, your 5 bolts out, and now your sprocket should just come out. Okay, I just want to show you how badly worn out my sprockets were. So these are my old front and rear sprockets, and these are my new ones. Take a look at the new one. Look at the teeth and compare it to the old one. Look at how the teeth of the old one are so worn out and thin. They almost look like shark fins. And my rear sprocket isn't so bad, but it's still worn out a little. Okay, let's give this area a nice clean. Get some general purpose degreaser. Okay, so I've got the sprocket area as clean as I could. I've got my new sprocket here. It's got the size 520 listed here, and it's also got the teeth, 15 teeth. The other side has no markings, so make sure the side with the markings faces outwards. And then let's put the sprocket in. Okay, it's fully seated. Now grab your existing washer that we took out earlier and the nut. Again, I've cleaned these with some brake cleaner so they're as clean as I could get them. Put the washer in. Make sure it's fully seated. And for now, thread the nut in a little. And while the old chain is still on, I'm gonna put the old chain back on the front sprocket just so that I could torque up this nut to spec. And then we'll remove the old chain. At the rear of the bike, I still have the chain wrapped around the axle. I still have the screwdriver through the chain links from the top to the bottom. And this is basically going to lock the chain around the axle, and it's going to prevent the front sprocket from turning as I'm torquing up the sprocket nut. Just as a precautionary measure, I've got a jack supporting the swing arm because I'm going to be torquing the nut clockwise, and it's going to be a lot of torque. So just in case while I'm torquing it, the bike tips over, this jack will support the swing arm and prevent that from happening. So grab your torque wrench and your 30mm socket. I think most of these sprockets are torqued between 130 and 160 newton meters. That's what the manual for the Himalayan 411 says. I couldn't find the torque spec for the Himalayan 450 anywhere in the manual, but I did some Googling, and roughly most bikes fall in that range for these big nuts. So I'm going to torque it right in the middle of that, which is about 145 newton meters, about 106, 107 foot-pounds. If you want to be on the lower end of that range, you can torque it to 130 newton meters. That's about 96 foot-pounds. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, now let's flatten part of that washer again so it sits on one of these flat surfaces of the nut, just like it was before. First, grab a flathead screwdriver and bend it a little, and then we'll use a drift that's not sharp to flatten it out. That's flattened, and now we're done installing the front axle completely. Okay, so to get the old chain out, all we need to do is take out these two fasteners here. This one is a 5mm hex bit, and this one is a 10mm socket. So just take them out. I've already loosened them, so let me just take them out now. And now you can grab the chain over the swing arm, and then this is the reason why we have to take out these two fasteners, because you need to then swing it from under this chain guard, and then it'll come out. And we can just take it out. Here you go. Okay, so I've got my new chain. I am going to put it over the swing arm, but under this chain guide, upper chain guard. Put it on the sprocket. Okay, time to install the new rear sprocket. Here it is. Make sure that the writing on the sprocket is facing outward. So I don't know if you can see it here, but this says 47 teeth 520. Place the new sprocket in there. I'm gonna put some blue Loctite, just a little bit on each of these threads. I've also cleaned these nuts, and let's install these. Okay, now let's torque them up to spec. So get your torque wrench, set it to 45 newton meters or 33.5 foot-pounds. Okay, with the new chain on, go ahead and install the rear wheel with the new sprocket. I've got a video showing you how to do that. I'll put a link in the description, so go check that out. Also, don't forget to set the correct chain tension on your new chain. I've got a video for that as well, so go check that out. And finally, since it's a new chain, don't forget to lube it up. The only thing left now is to put the sprocket cover back for the front sprocket, so we'll do that now. Put the sprocket cover back on. They're held together by these 5mm fasteners, 3 of them, and torque them up to about 10 Newton meters, so about 89 inch-pounds. Okay, that's it. Oh, and one more thing. Remember these 2 fasteners that we undid to remove the old chain and install the new chain? Go ahead and put these back and torque these up to the same torque, about 10 Newton meters or 89 inch-pounds. And we're done replacing the chain and sprockets for the Himalayan 450. Hey guys, hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button. It was my first time replacing chain and sprockets on a bike as well. I've never done that before. I've always had belt or shaft-driven bikes, but it's quite straightforward. You just need the right tools. Anyway, stay tuned for my future videos. My 30K service is coming up in a couple of months. So I'll be doing a coolant change. I'll be cleaning my fuel injectors. I'll be removing my swing arm to lubricate or maybe replace my bearings, as well as my steering stem bearings, so keep a lookout for those. Alright guys, till next time, it's your boy Easy signing out. Take care.